Hi guys, I've decided to create brief video tutorials about object-oriented programming principles in JavaScript, ECMAScript 7 specification. So I hope that you will learn something new or your understanding will be a little bit deeper and wider after looking at these videos. Fast growing of internet performance increases expectations and requirements for the web applications. New complexities and tasks are more often solved in front-end by JavaScript. Same as usage of Node.js and backend, it requires complex solutions using latest trends in programming. Object-oriented programming is one of the fundamental paradigms for last decades. That's why I think it is really important to have a good knowledge of this. We will go through the principles in the next order: abstraction, inheritance, polymorphism, encapsulations. Let's look what Wikipedia says about its definition. Object-oriented programming is a programming paradigm based on the concept of objects, which may contain data in the form of fields, often known as attributes, and code in the form of procedures, often known as methods. The main thing for us here is concept of objects. The second part just describes its properties. Abstraction is a way of creating a simple model of a more complex real-world entities, which contains the only important properties from the perspective of the context of an application. The very simple and basic understanding of a class can be something like complex data type. More deeply, class is an implementation of a concrete data structure with functionality implemented in methods, but a type is more like interface. Class is like a template for creating multiple objects with the same list of properties but different data values saved in it. If we are talking about bookstore context, we want to represent such properties of books as author, price, title, but we don't need some physical properties like weight or amount of pages, etc. One of the latest specifications of JavaScript, ECMAScript 6, provided keywords class and extends, which give us an ability to use object-oriented principles in common way with the other programming languages like Java, C#, and Python. Let's look in parts of JavaScript class that defines complex data structure. First of all, we have constructor method that is executed when we initialize a new instance. Inside of it, we can add properties to objects like prop1 and prop2. Here we have access for the arguments init1 and init2 that help us to set initial state of newly created object. getSetAccessors provides abilities to create computed properties based on object state or add validation for setting property values. Methods provide an interface for communication between objects and behavioral functionality that may be executed from context of creating an object. Some general data and functionality that related to class but not to concrete instance should be implemented in static methods that are accessible on class but not on concrete instance. The other example, we need some list of people in scope of our application. We need to know their first and last name, skills, their job and salary, but in the same time, we don't need the age, height, weight. We can just skip it. Here, we have an illustration of abstraction in managing complex data structure person. Details of property job are hidden in smaller job class to keep code cleaner and structured. On the left side, we have real-life entities, person and job. In the middle, programming abstraction with the only needed properties, and on the right, instances of class that represents concrete people and jobs. Abstraction helps to understand why do we need object-oriented principles. It defines core of the context of an application. Instantiated from the class contains the data values and the functionality defined in the class. In this tutorial, I won't dive deeply in ECMAScript 6 and 7 or 8 specification syntaxes. You can find enough information about it in different videos and articles. Also, I will run my code in Chrome and NodeJS we have an option to transpile our code using one of the JavaScript compilers, for example Bubble, to be able to run it in all the browsers. So don't worry about browser support of new code syntaxes features. Let's go to Visual Studio Code and try to implement our programming abstractions. So let's start creating class person. First of all, we will add constructor method. Inside of it, we will try to add object properties. This dot first name, this dot last name, and this dot job. So we would like to set initial values of it, so we will pass some argument object which will contain first, last name and job. I will use object destructing functionality that is provided by latest specifications of ECMAScript. So we will have a first name, last name and job property there. We will set them to newly created object, first name, last name and job. Also, we will have some initial value for skills. It will be an empty array. Okay, now let's try to implement some getter. It will be full name. So we would like to be able to get full username based on first and last name. I will use string template here for this purpose. This dot first name space this dot last name. Okay, also it will be interesting to add setter for full name. We will pass some argument, string argument. We will test if this string has format that we are interested in, if it's alphabetical and if it has space between first and last name. Okay. So test fn argument. If it works, we will do something, and if it not, I'd like to throw an error that bad full name, or incorrect full name. It's okay. And if it's correct, we would like to update our first and last name properties. For that, I will use array destructing feature. So I will be able to easily update my properties. This dot last name and argument fn. I will split it by space. Okay. So I would like to add some method which will give me ability to add some skills. It will be something like learn, argument skill, and inside of it I will update skills. I will just push new skill. Okay. Good. So also I would like to add some static functionality to this abstraction person, and for example I would like just to count amount of persons that were instantiated. So for that purpose I will do it in constructor. I will use something like amount property of person class. So I will use it value prefixed with underscore amount. underscore amount. Its default value will be 0, of course. I will talk in one of the next tutorials about encapsulation and why I have used prefix underscore here. But at this purpose, it's enough just to add this property here and add the static getter for amount, yeah, but it shouldn't be underscored. So anyway, you will be able to access to person._amount, but for interface purposes, we would like to have some accessors amount, because we don't want user to be able to change this amount property, and if it's prefixed with underscore, it means that this is private and you shouldn't work with it. I will talk about it in one of the next tutorials when we will talk about encapsulation. Okay, learn amount. So good. At this part, we have created some class person. Also, we would like to create some class called job. It will be the very simple class. It will have just constructor method which receives properties like company, then position, and salary. Okay, and it will just append those values to object that we are instantiating here. So this dot position equals position, this dot salary. Okay, so we have created some abstract templates or abstract models using our classes person and job, and now we would like to instantiate concrete objects. So I would like to create person John. I will use new keyword to instantiate person class. As an argument, I will provide an object with first name property with value John, last name property with value Doe, and that's all for now. At this point, we will have some already will have some instance, so I will console log it John, and we will go to browser to check what we have there. Okay, so we can see here this person John. The job is undefined as we haven't passed any value for this. Skills is empty, but full name, we have full name John Doe. That's good. So let's instantiate job then, and pass it here. So we will have job like new job, and what arguments can be. So I haven't used object destructing here at job constructor, so I will just pass company name. It will be YouTube, position developer, and salary, I think it's something like $200,000. Okay, that's really good. Yep, and also what we can do here, we can try to set full name to Mike Smith. Okay, now let's take a look what we will have in console log. Okay, so let's look what we have. So we have a new object with new values of first and last name, where these values were updated, and also it has job property, it has an empty skills array. So let's try to learn something. Let's go here. So John learn what? ECMAScript 6. It's good at the beginning. Okay, and also we can learn much more. John.learn ECMAScript 7. Okay. So what we have now? We have this person with updated skills. That's good. Yeah, so we can of course add some improvements here, but for the beginning it's enough for you to understand the structure of the class, to understand that it's used for abstractions of some real world, real life entities. So we have job, we have person, we can create some class which is template for multiple instances that we can create. So we have John here. Also of course we can create some other person here, like Roger, for example, new person. So we will pass some arguments. First name Roger, last name Federer, and his job will be new job will be with company, I don't know, Wimbledon, and his tennis player, I think not Wimbledon, I think it will be better ATP Tour, yeah, tennis player, and I hope his salary is much more. It's enough euros, 1 million, it's okay at this point. So and we can console log it, we can learn, for example, Roger can learn something new, he can learn programming, we can console log him also. Roger, okay, let's see what we will have. Okay, now we can see two objects that we have instantiated from class person. First object has values related to my person and the second to Roger. So let's go back and check our static functionality for amount of persons that were instantiated. For that, let's console log static property person that amount, so it's static getter. And the first point, I think it won't be initialized as the constructor was not executed for this class, and it should be undefined, I guess. But after instantiating John, it should be 1, and after instantiating Roger, it should be 2. Let's check. It's undefined 0, 0. Okay, let's look what is the reason for that behavior. Yeah, I forgot to increment this value after instantiating amount, increment it. Let's check, and yeah, now it works correctly. We have amount 1 and 2 after instantiating new objects. So what else can be helpful here? Sometimes it's important to check if some object is instance of some class. For example, here John is instance of person, it should return true, but for example for Roger we can check if it's instance of job, what that is wrong, that will return false. Roger has property job, but it's not an instance of that class. Let us check. should be true and false, correct. Okay, and so one more thing that can be interesting, if this code works correctly in Node.js, we will just run it. Node Siri and person JS, yeah, so it returns the same values. So in this video, we made basic introduction to object-oriented programming, get understanding of abstraction principle, learn what is class and how it can be implemented in JavaScript with ECMAScript 7 specification, developed some very simple examples of class and test it in Chrome and Node.js. Hope it was useful for you. I'll appreciate if you will leave comments, suggestions, and if you like it, you can subscribe to be able to watch next videos as soon as possible. See you, bye!